Welcome. We are back and we're going to continue with public comment on item 3.3.
I have Todd by Amy. So that's Todd Langton, followed by Amy Cody. After Amy Cody, I have Adriana Popovich. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Amy Cody, followed by Adriana Popovich.
I'm sorry, I'm driving. Can you call me in a minute?
Yes. Adriana Popovich, followed by David.
Hi, this is Mike Popovich. I'm pitch hitting for my wife, Andriana. Like I said, I'm Mike Popovich. I'm from District 10. I want to thank Mayor Mahan for his leadership on this issue. I do support his measure on diverting funds from Measure E to affordable housing. Folks, we have a major crisis in our community. What came out loud and clear in the last election was that we have to address the homelessness issue now. Not 5 years from now, now. And the mayor has laid out an option, which I think is very creative. It will help. I'd rather help 1,000 people than 100 people down the road in 5 years. So please join hands, prove that you can unite on this important issue, that the proposal is common sense, and let's move the city forward. Please support the mayor's measure. Thank you.
Amy, followed by, Amy's driving. David, followed by David Knoll. Okay, David Knoll.
Hello, could you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is David, a homeowner in South San Jose. I strongly support Mayor Mahan's proposal. We have at least 5,000 homeless in the city at an average of $1 million per home. That's $5 billion. We have nowhere near enough money to be able to make a meaningful dent in that. The goal of housing can't be to provide subsidized housing for the lucky few, around 50. That abandons hope that we can really help every homeless person out there. The goal should be to provide transitional emergency shelter for all unhoused and provide services to enable them to get back on their feet and transition to realistic working and housing situation. This includes the ability to maintain positions while you're transitioning. It includes mental health services, basic health services, drug rehab, and crime prevention. We can do it. We shouldn't give up hope. I support Mayor Mahan's proposal. Thank you.
Todd Langton, followed by David Knoll.
Hi, my name is Todd Langton with Agape Silicon Valley. I have just a simple question. I want to keep this simple because it's not very complicated. If we knew the number, how many lives have been saved over the last 5 years because we had interim housing? We may not know that number, but let's change the question. How many lives will be lost in the next 5 years for those who don't have interim housing? And we probably could estimate on that. It's a couple hundred years, it's about 1,000 lives. So we're missing the boat if we don't see the wisdom in providing interim housing now. Speaking of boat, if we were out on a yacht and we came across a small boat of people that it tipped over and they were drowning, we wouldn't say, hey, I'm not gonna throw you a life jacket until we build the new boat for you. We would save them now. Let's get off the dime. This is very simple. We've got people who are suffering. We need to save their lives.
David Knoll, followed by James.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, I'm David Noel, District 9 resident and president of Erickson Neighborhood Association. I urge you to approve the mayor's proposed one-time reallocation of Measure E funds to rapidly house and support San Jose residents living outdoors in poverty. I feel this proposal meets the intent of Measure E as presented to the voters and urgently addresses an existential humanitarian crisis. The mayor's proposal won't stop affordable housing development, as Measure E funding will continue indefinitely until repealed. With the mayor's plan, many people could be housed, and some graduate to self-sufficiency long before an affordable housing unit could be built for them. When residents and businesses see our city improve, that will start a virtuous cycle that funds more affordable housing, longer library hours, and more. Let's face reality, San Jose can't build subsidized homes as fast as nearby cities add new jobs without housing. Therefore, we also need to advocate strongly for regional housing solutions and reduce the costs and red tape of building new housing. Thank you.
Doug, followed by Tina. Doug Goss, followed by Tina Morrill.
Good evening. My name is Doug Goss. I'm a proud resident of District 10 and a housing provider here in San Jose. I urge you to please oppose the housing staff's proposed rent stabilization ordinance fee increase that places an even heavier burden on our mom and pop housing providers. Instead of an increase in fees to manage the program, I'd like to see a reduction in staff overseeing the program and a reduction in the fees needed to fund the city's regulatory program. Please stop coming back for more and more from the housing providers. Enough is enough. I also ask you to please support the temporary reallocation of Measure E funds to create a quick building communities that will help get our unhoused residents off the street. As an advocate for private property rights, I was strongly opposed to Measure E, but it passed. So let's put those funds where they.
Caller 7891, followed by Isela Reyes.
Thank you, Tony. Mayor and City Council members, my name is Danelle Fedor. I'm a San Jose native, born in the east side of San Jose, and I currently live in Blossom Valley. I supported Measure E, and I support Mayor Mahan's reallocation of funds. It's one step in the right direction. I also encourage you to work with the county to ensure Governor Newsom's care court for the chronically mentally ill homeless population is implemented. Additionally, I support a conditional use permit or equivalent to allow a temporary homeless living designation for the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds property. Having the entire or partial fairground zone for temporary homeless use will provide one place for the unhoused to live temporarily and reduce sweeping throughout the city, where the unhoused are consistently moved without any place to go, often losing their belongings in the process. The empty fairground buildings can be utilized for homeless resources like food, showers, medical, and security needs, while transitioning the unhoused to permanent affordable housing options.
Isela, followed by Danny.
Hello, my name is Isela Reyes. I am with Sacred Heart Community Service and a member of the Real Coalition. I'm also a former resident of District 7. I say former because 2 years ago, my family and I became permanently displaced after my stepfather passed away. Instead of being able to have time to properly grieve our loss, my family had to quickly pack up our home and relocate to the Central Valley, as we were unable to find affordable housing in the city that we have called home my entire life. Now, 2 full years later, we are still grieving not only the loss of my stepfather, but our home, our community, and culture. You failed my family in our time of need. I urge you not to fail others and keep the Measure E funds towards building affordable housing. Thank you.
Danny, followed by Gregory.
Good evening. My name is Danny Megan. I'm an organizer for Sprinkler Fitters Local 483. I'm asking for your support to maintain the current Measure E expenditure plan, depleting long-term affordable housing funds for short-term shelters breaks the voters' trust. This funding shift undermines our commitment to expanding affordable housing and ignores the role of affordable and permanent supportive housing in providing real homes for people to move out of interim shelters. I urge you to keep the balanced approach of the current Measure E. Thank you very much.
Gregory, followed by George. Gregory?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Greg Braley. I fully support Mayor Mahan's proposal to use Measure E funding for quick build housing. This does not break people's trust. It's completely in spirit with what Measure E was passed for. I'd remind everybody also, this was the single biggest issue on the campaign trail in the last election. This was the single biggest thing that Mayor Mahan pushed on his campaign, and he won. That's a reflection of what the people of San Jose want. Our current approach to homelessness is not working. We've been down this road for several years, and the problem's just getting worse. The mayor's quick build solution will help to build shelter for the most people and get them indoors off the streets, which is the most urgent need. This is a compassionate solution that should not even be controversial. Thank you.
George, followed by Pierluigi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is George from District 10. I've been a resident of San Jose for 50 years. Please support the mayor's plan to move quickly and house our homeless at a reasonable cost. Affordable housing takes too long and is too expensive. Again, as others have said, the election results show favoring mayor's plan. Thank you very much.
Pierluigi, followed by Jay.
Good evening, City Council. I'm calling as a Willow Glen Neighborhood Association board member. Neighborhoods citywide witness the suffering of street homelessness. The proposal is reasonable. The text of the ballot measure allows it. Everyday residents do not want to wait 10 years for a permanent housing development that houses only a small fraction of the unhoused, while simultaneously having to deal with the externalities of polluted waterways, trails and parks that feel unsafe, a downtown where people no longer go, and approximately 11,000 calls for service a year from the fire department responding to street homelessness. Residents expect the government to pivot when there is a crisis, and this is a pragmatic approach. I look forward to your thoughtful discussion. Thank you.
Jay, followed by Moira.
Hi, I'm Jay Govindan. I've been a resident of San Jose for the last 27 years. The unhoused situation that we have is a critical emergency that needs addressing right now. And I'm in support of our Mayor Matt Mahan's proposal on this. We need to house the residents as quickly as possible and mitigate this crisis of suffering and dying on the streets. Thank you.
Moria, followed by Luong Lee.
Thank you. I appreciate the many speakers on the important issues of housing. I am calling to speak about bicycle safety and Vision Zero funding. I live on Center Road in District 7. Center Road has been greatly improved in its safety and accessibility for bicycles by the changes that were made on Center Road in the section where I live. And yet I still ride my bike on many of the most dangerous streets that Vision Zero has identified. My friends at Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition tell me that there is only a small percentage of the money needed for Vision Zero in the budget. Only $280,000 is allocated for Vision Zero. The Department of Transportation says it will take $12 million to ensure that Vision Zero priority corridors are mitigated by 2025, and 2025 is a while from now. I want to repeat, there's $280,000 allocated for Vision Zero, and we need $12 million to do the work by 20.
Luong Lee, followed by Joelle. Luong Lee.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi, I'm calling in to support Mayor Mahan proposal because I think it's good for city of San Jose, and it's gonna help a lot of people off the street and on the creek. I usually run on Hellier and Hellier Trail, and it's gotten really bad there. So I think it's a very good start to have a place for them to stay and start their new life instead of on the creek and live like an animal. Thank you.
Joelle, followed by Claudine.
Hello, I'd like to, my name is Joelle. I'm a San Jose resident. I'd like to support Mayor Mahan. Measure E was a general fund passed in 2020, and Measure E does say, among other things, to help homeless. So I'm not sure what the problem is. Nothing is being reallocated. It just sounds like people aren't doing what they want. So don't vote for something if you're not willing to be okay with everything. As someone else says, this is why people don't trust politics. I'd like to remind everyone of the trash that was in the creek when we had those massive floods that put so many people that were displaced because the homeless had camps in the creeks. So apparently that's okay to flood people's homes, but it's not okay to help them get out of those creeks. I'd also like to remind you that at Empire Elementary School, someone nearby at a homeless camp along 101 had a machete and went to that elementary school with the machete. So let's have kids with machetes at school by homeless people instead of getting them out of the homeless camp and the mental health.
Claudine, followed by Pat and Tim Lockyer.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. My name is Claudine Sapili. I am a human with lived experience of homelessness, and I am also a resident of District 10. I fully agree that non-congregate dignified interim housing units should be a component of the housing continuum from encampment to housing stability. However, there are some truths that I would like to point out to you about interim housing. Number one, people living in interim housing, quick build, modular sites, whatever you want to call them, are still experiencing homelessness. Number two, interim housing sites alone can never end homelessness within our communities. Homelessness is a housing problem that requires deeply affordable permanent housing. Lastly, the full success and impact of interim housing programs will remain dependent on the scale and range of affordable housing and services options within our community. I emphatically urge you to vote against the mayor's Measure E spending plan. City of San Jose needs to find their own funding for those sites. Thank you.
Pat and Tim Lockyer, followed by Justice at Work.
Thank you. I want to thank the council and the mayor allowing us to speak. I apologize for the early inability to connect. The glitch was solved. When we voted for Measure E, we did not think we were voting for $1 million a unit things. And even if two people stayed in each, that's still $3.5 billion. If we streamline the permitting process and give incentives to go beyond the required 15% affordable housing for developers, we can also lower the cost of housing for all of us by increasing the supply of housing. In addition, just building, quote, permanent housing, end quote, will not help active substance abusers or mentally ill stay off the streets. If, as a former drug abuse treatment physician, I know that we must tackle the root.
Justice at Work, followed by Matthew Reed.
Hi, my name is Hui Tran. I'm a member of the Housing Commission, but I speak tonight of my own accord. I keep hearing people use the phrase common sense and talk about this as if we don't have any interim housing. Our current plans call for a balanced approach that provides both. But let me talk about why this plan is actually, why the proposed spending plan is actually very bad and is also misleading, right? First, it's dangerous. It's taken 3 years to get the pipeline built up for affordable housing projects, and to just pull the emergency brakes by shifting all uncommitted funds to interim housing is going to derail those projects. Two, it's unserious. You can't solve a complex problem like housing with time-limited solutions. It's just a Band-Aid. Now, and then what happens to the folks who use interim housing and then they're out and there's nowhere else to go? It's also misleading because this cannot be a one-time allocation. Interim housing requires ongoing costs. There's no way this is a one-time expenditure. Thank you.
Matthew Reed, followed by Paul Soto.
Yes, Matthew Reed, Silicon Valley at home. San Jose's housing crisis reaches deep into our communities. Overdependence on interim shelters is short-sighted and inefficient use of public resources and undermines our commitments to creating affordable homes for struggling households. Over 150,000 people in San Jose live in households that pay over half of their income for rent. These are the same folks who end up disproportionately on the streets experiencing homelessness in San Jose. Emergency interim shelters are a valuable innovation This predates the current administration, but we know that they are expensive to sustain and work best when there are permanent homes to move into. And frankly, there's not a plan to sustain them as short-term pathways to actual housing. You don't even have an updated cost analysis. This is not a one-time reallocation. It's a commitment to a change of course, shifting city resources from housing to shelter.
Paul, followed by Andrew. Who's that? That was a guy on the panelist side. Paul? Okay, Andrew, followed by Sandy.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Andrew Siegler, and I'm a resident of District 3, a member of Showing Up for Racial Justice at Sacred Heart, and a formerly unhoused resident. I'm speaking in support of survivors of the street at Sacred Heart. Bottom line, don't mess with Measure E. Wait, hold on. Where's my time? Why is my time at 17 seconds? I didn't get a full minute here.
Oh, sorry.
All right, thank you. Bottom line, don't mess with Measure E. Don't move Measure E funds to emergency interim housing, otherwise known as EIH. I've lived in shelters and transitional housing. The time limits are too short since there's no affordable housing to move to. It's a vicious cycle. If you want to fund EIHs, which we do need, maybe don't increase funding for sweeps and abatement. Maybe don't double the hiring rate of cops. We need to fund permanent affordable housing solutions. This city is so far behind its RENA benchmarks in terms of extremely low, and moderate income units. We can't afford to fall behind even further. We can't afford to stay the same either. We need to progress. Use the Measure E funds as they were intended for permanent affordable housing solutions. Thank you for your attention. I yield my time.
Sandy, followed by Mary Helen. Sandy M.
Hello, my name is Sandra, I'm a resident of San Jose D2. Support the measure to reappropriate the funds to create housing needed for more immediately shelter the unhoused. Creating this type of basic shelter allows more people to access services and safety that they all need to move forward. We need to create basic shelter for everyone who needs it before we build million-dollar apartments for the lucky few. We cannot continue an incremental approach to a crisis of this magnitude. We need to prioritize basic, safe, and dignified shelter that gets people off the streets now. Thank you.
Mary Helen, followed by Tina.
Mary Helen Doherty, member of the Sacred Heart Housing Action Committee and Surge and resident of District 3. I'm disillusioned that as elected leaders, you are considering abandoning the comprehensive and long-term approach that Measure E was guaranteed to fund. To move away from the focus on permanent affordable housing is a Band-Aid strategy that undermines the solution we need to the humanitarian crisis we are experiencing. Temporary solutions will look good for a while, but do not create the outcome that is required. Please be accountable and cast your vote to maintain Measure Z's spending plan that the voters you represent approved. Thank you.
Tina, followed by Sheila.
Hi, good evening. This is Tina Morrill. I am a resident of the Vendome neighborhood in District 3. I support the interim housing quick build communities as proposed by our mayor. Interim housing quick build communities does not have to replace building affordable housing. This is not a zero-sum game. And we have to get folks off our streets and out of our creeks now so that they are safe, warm, and dry. I support focusing this year's budget on the basics in order to do basic programs well versus many programs scattershot. I support accountability in city departments. Specifically, city officials should be able to tell taxpayers how much money in prior years and years going forward is being spent on unhoused and what we are getting for our money. And finally, I support increasing the TOT occupancy tax monies to provide more funding for the arts. We the people need both a clean
Sheila, followed by James.
Okay, my name is Sheila Kay, and the most important thing is we have to live within a budget. We're not the federal government. We can just increase spending without tightening our belt. I see clearly there is no accountability at the housing department for anything they want, whether it's paying to get the people to come out and go for the COPA, which was a failure, or in fact, there is no accountability for the rent control. A budget that's filled with expensive consultants and no results. When will we have accountability in the city of San Jose for the budget of the housing department, as well as any others? And that's why I wanted Matt and worked really hard, Matt. So I'm hoping that accountability is the priority so we can get a budget that represents the budget for the priority for the city of San Jose. Thank you. And I'll give up my time.
James, followed by Elizabeth.
Hello, everybody. I'm James. I'm a student at San Jose State University. I'm a resident of District 4, and I just want to say that I support what the mayor is trying to do. And I think it's a great idea to help get people off the streets, building homes, permanent residences. Seems like a great idea, but that's way too far down the line. We need some action now. The homelessness problem is very visible. I can just go down the street from my house and there's already 6 or 7 homeless people there and they need assistance. And like it was mentioned earlier today, slow down San Jose too, because I don't want to get hit by cars, and I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Elizabeth, followed by Paul Singolani. Elizabeth Agramont, Justiniano. Okay, moving on to Paul Singolani.
Good evening, this is Paul Singolani, lifelong resident of San Jose, District 5. Using Measure E to pay for permanent and affordable housing is a good deal for the city. The city pays only a small percentage of the cost of each affordable housing unit. The rest of the cost comes from state and federal investment. In fact, for its investment, the city receives a bedroom of permanent and affordable housing for about the same cost it takes to operate a single interim unit for just 2 years. I urge you to keep the current Measure E spending plan as the best investment. Thank you, and I yield the rest of my time.
Amy Cody, followed by Colin User 8.
Hi, my name is Amy Cody, and I support the mayor's efforts to move the needle on helping San Jose's unhoused residents. We need to work on all fronts to assist those who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. That said, it makes sense that we allocate additional city resources to strategies that support more people more quickly. These include homelessness prevention and providing safe and supportive housing in quick-build communities across our city. We need to get unhoused residents off the streets and out of creeks and parks. We need to do a better job providing basic service and shelter to more people while continuing to support the production of highly leveraged, permanent, affordable housing.
Colin User 8, followed by Joshua.
Hi, Martha O'Connell, GSMOL. I support the mayor's proposal. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. The housing industrial complex, the nonprofit industrial complex doesn't look at the encampments, the impact they have on the rest of the community. I submitted a report that was written in 2019 explaining how dangerous these encampments are when they're next to mobile home parks. Mobile homes can burn in 5 minutes. We must end the era of encampments. They are ruining our waterways, and they are presenting a serious threat to the mobile home parks. Thank you. Support Mayor Matt's proposal.
Joshua, followed by Gail. Joshua.
Can you hear me? I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Hi there. My name's Joshua. I'm also a resident of San Jose. And I just wanted to say that I supported Mayor Mahan's Measure E budget. I think we can all agree that the homelessness issue has gotten worse and worse over the years. And I think this is definitely one step in the right direction towards tackling that issue. And it'll obviously help a lot of people that do need the help as well. Thank you for your time.
Gail?
Hi, good evening. First of all, if we want to help the unhoused, I would suggest that all of you contact the city housing department and ask them to stop abating folks like they did yesterday, like they're doing till June 5th. What happened yesterday at Corey Court was horrible. Horrible. And it seems like, who cares? We don't care. So all these people went back to across the way from Corey Court. They didn't get housing. Oh, I'm sorry, 10 people got into Lot E. Most people didn't get housing. The city and their provider did not really, well, anyway, they didn't do their job. I'm sorry. I mean, I was out there more than their housing provider. And we need to do a better job and stop abating people because there's no place for them to go and nobody is helping them.
Back to council.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Thank you to all of the members of the public, both in person and online, who took the time to share your perspectives with us. We really appreciate the opportunity to hear from you. And with that, we are going to close the public hearing. This is the first of two public hearings on the budget, including the proposed revision to the Measure E allocations. And we're going to be now moving on to item 3.4, which is the approval of the issuance of a multifamily housing revenue note. And I do not see a staff presentation. Is that correct, or do we have one?
That is correct. We do not have a staff
Okay.
presentation.
Move approval. Okay. We'll,
Sorry, second.
Well, I didn't catch actually who the second was. It was Vice Mayor. Okay. We're going to go to public comment.
Blair?
This is 3.4.
I have hands going up. I want to make sure that people know that this is not about the budget. This is about item 3.4. No, I want to make sure people online are aware that this is item 3.4, that we're done with 3.3.
I was curious if this was also a public hearing item related to budget things, hopefully, or wondering. With this item, I think this is an old item that you've been talking about, the Tamian Station project, for a long time. And if this is finally coming to fruition, a good luck to yourselves, and a real good luck in how we can consider a future of affordable housing that's truly affordable. We all like the concepts of market rate housing, but we are really out of time to really start considering other forms of housing. We have obligations, mandates by the end of this decade from RENA, from MTC and stuff. I hope that we can work now to start talking about those things now and make it a regular dialogue here as a public meeting time with affordable housing issues like this one. Thank you.
Kathleen?
To comment on the proposal, the loan idea for the LLC, I think is a great idea. I think the idea of spending money that is at a good rate now, the dollar loses its value over time. So if you're able to take out a loan and do a project now rather than saving the money, I think it's a good idea. To give it to LLCs or private businesses to do a loan, maybe in the hands of them, they might be able to make things work better, if it's within their interests, not a nonprofit, but for-profit, might be the way. And I think the ideas of providing loans to construction companies to help them, it's so expensive to do anything. So I'm in support of it.
Sheila?
I'm in support of that as well, but I think before you get to choose it, you should have at least the public be aware of input on who is asking for support and do a complete check on them so we know that they are worthy, credit worthy, and that we don't see them with their hands in the cookie jar later down the road when we didn't expect it.
Back to council.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Dewan, was that on this item or a previous item? I have your hand up still here.
Oh, that was previous.
Previous, okay. Okay, thank you. Councilmember, sorry, this is in District
3.
So I'm gonna go to Councilmember Torres first.
Great, I'm just gonna be quick. This project is gonna be in a underutilized parking lot on Lake Avenue. It's in District 3. It's in an area where affordable housing and other type of housing is needed, and just can't wait for it to come online. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Batra?
Mayor, this is a affordable homes, as we've seen in the discussion which went on, or the public comment. It's a very, very, very sensitive topic to the public. We do bring in reports like this one, which is today for discussion. But since it comes one at a time, public doesn't get a good view of what the total activity is going around about the affordable projects, okay, affordable housing. So what I would like to ask a few questions, and I'm going to request that we get our instruction that every time we bring this one proposal for the affordable projects, which is always approved, but it should have an attachment which shows all the affordable activity going on against that NOFA, so that the people can get at a glance a transparency and have at a glance the information available that how much our NOFA was, how much we spent on funding different projects, how many units are we getting, so people have a good feel for where we are going as a con. So that's going to be my, I wrote a memo on that one, and I'm going to make a substitute motion to have that the a staff recommendation be accepted, and that my memos, information should be going there to housing to bring that every time they bring any of these proposals there. I'm supporting the proposal of the money, but I want that attachment to be brought every time one of these proposals comes up. I do want to ask some questions. So as I make the motion to accept my memo, which is asking additional information to be brought, and we are supporting that one.
Okay, there's a motion. We have a second. I do want to make sure we clarify the information that we want to bring. It still is a little vague. I appreciate the spirit of helping the public better contextualize what we're doing, where the dollars are going, those sorts of things. I wonder if it's a cover letter or a persistent page on the city website. I think there may be some different solutions here. I'd also want to specify what we want to make sure is included.
Yeah. So we want it as an attachment to every time one of these things come around. And that attachment would be showing what the total amount of that NOFA was, and every project which got funded under that NOFA, what the status of that project is. How much was the original funding? How much, if there was any incremental funding, and the amount of money and the number of units we are getting, whether the project is started or not started. That would be one attachment which will be updated with every one of these projects coming forward, okay? And that will be available as part of the memo, which the staff will send. And I had a chance to discuss that with the staff before, and they felt pretty comfortable being able to bring that information out. And it will make it for the public to understand the concerted effort being put into bringing the affordable units to the housing need.
Okay, so let's turn to the housing department, and I'm curious if you have thoughts on both the information we'd want to include and then maybe also the format, whether it's a cover sheet or incorporate into the memo as an exhibit or a page on the city website that updates on all these projects.
Yeah, we do have on the website some of the information, so you can scroll, but it's not, wouldn't be easy to find by the funding, the current funding. So we're happy to just do it as an attachment that you can see how we're doing and our progress towards meeting all the funding that's being asked from us on the NOFA. So that's easy for us to do as an attachment.
Okay. Okay. See if
So I got a couple of questions to ask, if you don't mind. Just in the spirit of that same attachment, could you comment on, for this particular project, what the initial funding was, and if there is any change to the amount of funding done to it?
Banusan Housing Planning and Policy Administrator. Tamian Station's initial NOFA request was $14,125,000, and then there was an increase to now $17,250,000.
Okay. So the current one is 17. Is it added 17 or is it total 17?
Total. So the city's total commitment is $17,250. So an increase of $3,125,000.
Okay. And how many units will be getting with this one?
135.
Okay. And what's the per unit cost?
One moment. Sorry. 986,000.
986,000. Okay. And if you can recall, by initially this year when we started out with this NOFA, whatever the initial funding was, how many of those have been increased because of the inflation and other factors by a total amount?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah. So you had funded, I think, 3 projects with the NOFA number 2. And there was initial funding, and then some of them had to go through increases. Do you happen to have the total number of increase, total value, total dollars increase?
I have it, but I'm not sure which projects we're referring to.
All the NOFA projects, anything that we
Oh,
funded
total increases for all of the NOFA awardees?
Yeah.
So far?
Yeah.
Okay, one moment. 59 million projected, but in terms of the committed, I can tell you that one too. So far, $28 million increase in the ones that are committed and has gone through council approval.
28 million from the initial commitment increase.
Yes, and that would be 7 projects that have gone to council for their commitment approvals.
Okay, because of the inflation and other factors.
Correct.
Caused the increase. Okay.
Correct, because the cost of construction has gone up in the past year around 9 to 12%. Prevailing wages have gone up, interest rates have gone up, so this is the result.
Yeah, very valid. We approved every one of them. I wasn't here for approving every one, but some of the ones I was here to approve it. Yeah, so 28 million increase for whatever we were going to get before. Okay, so I think that kind of information being available on that other attachment, I think it will be very useful for the council and the public to know that, okay? So with that one, I yield, Mayor.
Thank you, council member. Appreciate the questions and the desire to have more context for the public. I think that's valuable. Councilmember Foley?
I'm sorry, I think my questions have been answered
Okay.
already.
Okay. All right. I'm not seeing any other hands, so let's vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. All right. Thank you. We're on to item 3.5. This is the approval of the issuance of tax-exempt multifamily housing revenue notes. And this is for the financing of the Charles. And there's no staff presentation, so we will go to public comment.
Paul Soto? Just give me a second, Paul.
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. Tax exemptions, we need to examine that. We've been giving out like millions, tens of millions of dollars in tax breaks. And these developers are billionaires, man. If they don't care, if they don't want to do business here, tell them to get out of here. That's it. We're the boss, not them. We are the boss because this is our money. And so basically by giving them and kowtowing to them and saying, oh, well, a developer can't develop unless he has $4 million. Well, then kick rocks, dude. Get out of here. We don't need you. We'll find someone else. So this act of that somehow or another we are beholden to them is an imbalance in the equation. We are their boss because we are the ones, they're the ones that are asking for our money. And so there needs to be some kind of fiduciary responsibility and acknowledgement to that and tell them, just get out of here, dude. We'll find someone else. You could throw a rock anywhere in this city and make money. So this sorry story that they're coming up with that, oh, well, we need a tax exemption or we can't build, be quiet, man. Get out of here. We'll get someone else.
Back to council.
Great. Thank you. This is also a project in District 3, so we will go to Councilor Torres.
Just move to approve item 3.5.
Second.
Okay, second by Councilor Dewan.
I did have a public card. I didn't.
Oh, great.
I got
Let's
it
go
in that
back
case.
to the
Kathleen?
public speaker.
Hi, it's Kathleen. I'd like to back the last caller up out of the Horseshoe that I think it really needs to be, I guess you would call it audited, how many of these nonprofits are actually for-profit, which means the CEO. Some of these places have CEOs that are making over $300,000 in their drawn salary for the year. And we know that if you draw a salary from the year, you could work 1 hour, you could work 10, or you could work 100,000. So I think it should be looked into what is going on with these tax breaks also. You know, I know people who are here, hard workers who pay their taxes and don't have representation because of their status. So, you know, if we got people paying taxes who don't even get status or representation, who can't even get into housing because of their status, who don't qualify for HUD, we need places that recognize taxpayers and not let non-profits or tax
Thank you.
exemption rip people off.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion, a second, and I don't see any other hands, so let's vote.
Motion passes unanimously. I'd also like to note that Councilmember Davis was absent for this vote and the last one.
Yep, great. All right. Thank you to the council for continuing to support affordable housing. On to item 5.1. And we do have a presentation. This is the Beautify SJ Vehicle Blight Status Report. And as soon as staff is ready, let's jump in.
Good evening, Mayor Mehan, council members, members of the public. My name is Khaled Tawfiq, Chief Information Officer. And presenting with me today, or tonight, Lily Lim Sao, Assistant Director, Department of Transportation, Olympia Williams, Beautify San Jose Division Manager, Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services, and Namrata Batra Agrawal, Product Manager from Information Technology Department. I'll turn it over to Namrata to get us started to present the Beautify San Jose Vehicle Blight Status Report. Namrata.
Thank you, Khalid. Good afternoon, Mayor Mehan, council members, and members of the public. My name is Namrata Batra Agrawal, and I'm the acting projects and product manager for San Jose 311. The complexity and breadth of vehicle-related complaints has evolved in recent years and has been impacted by many and often compounding factors. A visible increase in the number of vehicles being used for shelter and demand for limited parking in densely populated neighborhoods has elevated the level of concern expressed by residents. Siloed systems, processes, and departments, coupled with enforcement and operational limitations, have tested the patience of those requesting services and looking to the city to take action. In addition, customer communications and our approach to educating stakeholders have fallen short, leaving customer expectations not in alignment with service deliveries. The culmination of these factors has resulted in very dissatisfied customers. Next slide, please. Motivated by the city initiatives roadmap for fiscal year 22-23, the mayor's March budget, and poor customer satisfaction ratings, a multi-departmental vehicle blight process redesign project was initiated. To gain a better understanding of vehicle-related issues, the project team conducted extensive data analysis and spoke with customers about their experience with vehicle blight in San Jose. A specific pain point identified was community frustration due to the lack of parking in some residential neighborhoods. A high-level review of DMV data suggests that there are around 2.3 vehicles for every one driver living in San Jose. This high ratio does further influence the perception that there are a significant number of vehicles taking up parking in San Jose. High volumes of vehicles impact vehicle blight, parking occupancy, turnover, and the rate of illegal parking. The team has identified additional opportunities to further understand these impacts, as well as the equity impacts of parking enforcement. Data analysis efforts will continue as the project advances. Next slide, please. Customers are utilizing the San Jose 311 abandoned vehicle reporting tool to alert the city of all types of vehicle-related issues, not just abandoned vehicles. Additionally, customers report vehicle-related issues to multiple departments through a variety of other channels. A funnel analysis was completed, and the results you see here are based on DOT-specific data. The dataset gives us a look into what customers are concerned about and therefore reporting. The types of customer concerns are well represented, but we know the volume of those concerns is understated. The diagram notes that for DOT, general illegal parking issues, including requests for vehicles parked for 72 hours, were by far the most voiced concern. Next slide, please. In listening to our customers through data, we categorized their concerns into 3 buckets in order to design more effective and customer-centered solutions. Focusing on the middle of this slide, you will see approximately 72% of reported vehicle concerns are categorized as illegally parked vehicles. This wide category covers a large variety of concerns. For example, vehicles parked for 72 hours or at a red curb, fire hydrant, in a bike lane, or other general illegal parking concerns. Per the California Vehicle Code, the only legal enforcement mechanism allowed for most parking violations is a citation. Next slide, please. Let's look at how customer satisfaction is directly impacted by the current vehicle abatement service delivery model. We know that overall customer satisfaction ratings for fiscal year 21-22 were very low at 16%. However, when reported vehicles are investigated, customer satisfaction jumps to 50 to 60%. Next slide, please. Now, let's talk about how the data analysis and human-centered design process is being used to arrive at customer-centric solutions. Next slide, please. On the left side is the pie chart we previously looked at on slide number 6 and is here for reference only. Let's focus on the pie chart to the right. Next. Currently, all vehicle-related issues reported via 311 are first assigned to DOT. To help improve customer satisfaction, as part of the redesigned vehicle blight process, the system will automatically direct service requests outside of DOT's scope to the correct departments, thereby reducing the overall vehicle request volume for DOT. Additionally, this is expected to streamline the routing of customer concerns and reduce the number of times the customers hear that this issue isn't handled by the department you've contacted. Next. Using Vehicle Abatement Program Reserve funding, DOT is planning to increase contract staffing by 3 FTEs. This will enable DOT the ability to conduct up to 10,000 additional investigations, which is close to a 45% increase. Next, please. As you can see, these combined efforts are expected to flip the pie, allowing for a majority of future service requests to be investigated. Based on historical data, we assume this alone will significantly drive up customer satisfaction. Next slide, please. An additional 15+ programs and process enhancements have been identified to further address stakeholder and customer pain points. Creative solutions focused on clearing obstructions that are impacting customer usability, satisfaction, and outcomes have been identified and prioritized by staff. Work to implement these solutions is already underway. Next slide, please. Pre-pandemic, the Vehicle Abatement Program responded to upwards of 60,000 service requests, investigating every request received, regardless of why the vehicle was reported. This approach was inefficient and resulted in a significant number of unproductive field visits, as reported vehicles often moved prior to being investigated. Parking officers would respond to the service request and find the vehicle not there. DOT is not currently investigating vehicles solely for the 72-hour rule. And let me explain why. 72 hours is equal to 3 days. Given the previous shelter-in-place order and the current hybrid work environment and convenience economy where everything can get delivered to your doorstep, vehicle owners can easily go 3 days or more without using their vehicle. This shift in vehicle use behavior caused DOT to adjust the vehicle abatement program during and throughout the pandemic. To reduce unproductive field visits and optimize resources, vehicle investigation criteria were established to better identify vehicles that were more likely abandoned. This allowed DOT to prioritize, investigate, and remove the most egregious vehicles. Proactive patrols were also introduced to provide equitable vehicle abatement services to areas of the city where services were needed but not always requested. The two outcomes of both program approaches are similar. However, the current program uses less staffing resources to accomplish nearly the same outcome. So to reiterate, DOT is not currently investigating vehicles solely for the 72-hour rule. Next slide, please. It is understood that the current lack of enforcement of the 72-hour rule is a pain point for customers. To inform the development of an efficient and effective future solution to address this issue, DOT has initiated a pilot program focused on investigating these vehicles. Through the pilot, we anticipate adjusting and trying different framework from which we hope to better understand several data points. Specifically, we are looking to understand outcomes. Will our actions change parking behavior? What impact will investigating for the 72-hour rule have on customer satisfaction? And what impact will the issuance of citations rather than towing have on customer satisfaction? Next slide, please. Through our data analysis and from speaking to customers, it is clear another major factor influencing customer dissatisfaction is the quality and cadence of communication from the city. In order to fix this, the team is working on several enhancements to communication. For example, we are focusing on one-voice communications based in kindness and education, looking to include photos during closeout communications to visually demonstrate outcomes, and engage in the sharing of more information and results through data dashboards. Next slide, please. Speaking of dashboards, the team recently created and published a new abandoned vehicle investigations outcomes dashboard. In order to provide more transparency to residents, we recently launched phase 1 of this new dashboard. Here, a customer can type in their address and view vehicle abatement activity in their neighborhood or by their place of business. The map identifies where vehicle investigations have occurred and the results of those investigations. Users can customize the map to see activities derived from proactive patrols or San Jose 311 service requests. Activity can also be filtered by specific council districts. The phase 1 dashboard includes data from the first 3 quarters of fiscal year 22-23, and future phases are expected to expand the data available. Now I'd like to pass the presentation over to Olympia Williams with Beautify SJ so she can speak to the progress being made on the city's approach to addressing lived-in vehicles.
Thank you, Namrata. Currently, there is an interdepartmental group developing recommendations on how to address lived-in vehicles when people are non-compliant with good neighbor rules. Examples of non-compliant vehicles may include personal items being stored on sidewalks and streets, vehicles draining bio-waste onto streets or into storm drains, and other issues that may lead to the need to abate vehicles. In March 2023, we launched a recreational and lived-in vehicle pilot program to address bio-waste. In the first 24 days of the program's operations, we collected over 11,000 gallons of bio-waste. We are planning to return in the fall with an update and recommendations on addressing lived-in vehicles, similar to how we currently manage encampments. Now I'd like to pass the presentation over to Khaled so he can speak on progress being made on the city's approach to policy work and the cross-departmental vehicle blight team.
Policies, legislation, and legal approaches are being pursued in several areas to ensure the city has the tools and ability to address complex vehicle blight scenarios that are currently outside the scope of and reach for the city programs. This will include investigating a new parking program to prohibit the parking of certain types of vehicles on city streets, such as unpowered vehicles and boat trailers, considering revisiting the current approach to revisiting the current approach to enforcing expired vehicle registration while looking at solution through the equity lens. This could result in additional citations and towing of vehicles. And recommending an ordinance to define public nuisance and extreme blight with options for removal due to imminent threat to life or property. The cross-departmental vehicle blight team has concluded the vehicle blight process redesign phase and identified over 15 enhancements to the program. Small and medium enhancements are being implemented while focusing on larger enhancement by the end of this year. This approach allows us to test and measure the impact of new changes and adjust the approach to maximize results. The team initiated a 72-hour investigation and enforcement pilot to promote parking compliance and will gradually increase the 72 investigation and enforcement starting August based on the outcome of the pilot. Our cross-departmental one team collaborated through several design sessions over the last 6 months to listen with empathy for resident voices, develop cross-department solutions, and focus on outcomes. The team has advanced our dashboard capability to promote transparency and enhance our ability to recognize and track our progress. We launched the customer satisfaction dashboard in March of this year and added the abandoned vehicle investigation and outcomes dashboard last month. As anticipated, enhancements started to improve customer satisfaction scores. As indicated on the bottom right graph of the San Jose 311 performance dashboard, there is an upward trend in the customer satisfaction scores for abandoned vehicle services from 14% back in June of 2022 to 29% in March of this year. The customer satisfaction average for the April and May of this year indicate a gain of another 2% since March of this year, bringing the customer satisfaction average to 31% for the last 3 months. We are encouraged by the continuous improvements achieved in customer satisfaction over the last 9 months and realize that more work is needed to achieve our goals. This concludes our presentation, and staff is available for questions and feedback.
Great. Thank you all so much. I'm really excited about this work. Appreciate you focusing and really doing a deep dive on vehicle blight, which we all hear a whole lot about. And I want to just highlight that the methodology, if you will, this, dare I say, obsessive focus on the customer experience, being customer, what we might call constituent-centric, being very data-driven, taking a complex problem and breaking it down into its component parts, and then isolating what appear to be maybe the biggest opportunities for growth, and then developing hypotheses, and then actually assessing, okay, how do we rank these, and which of these are, if we improve them, are likely to have the biggest impact on the customer experience. I think the way that you're approaching tackling this problem is frankly a model for how we should be thinking about a data-driven and customer-centric approach to all of the complex problems that we face. So I think this is really exciting progress. Obviously, we have a long way to go to get those customer satisfaction numbers where we want them to be, but your presentation gives me a lot of hope. So thank you for the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to public comment, and then we'll come back to the council.
Blair?
We have 1 minute, not 2 minutes.
Yeah, and Kathleen, come on down as well.
With my 1 minute, just to thank you for this item. It's been to committee, T&E, I think beforehand. And Councilperson Cohen, I think, mentioned at the time, he felt something was missing from this, how to talk about this project. It's early May, and I know you want to be bright and strong and look good. And that's okay, but I think you're going to have to bring in the concepts of there is another part of this, and that is the RV people themselves and the people in the vehicles. You talk about customer-driven data. They're a part of that process as well, that AI practices do try to address a full spectrum of human rights issues. That's our new data. That's hopeful. And so good luck how in the coming months we can talk more about RV encampment issues that we want to talk about, that are available to talk about, that I hope we can come back to soon. Good luck in that sort of thinking. Thank you.
Kathleen, followed by Paul.
Hi, I do want to agree with the mayor. I think that was a great presentation visually with the PowerPoint. I think whoever did that did a good job, colorful and easy to read. But I have a feeling that you are not aware of the criminal activity that goes on the streets and how these quote-unquote abandoned vehicles appear abandoned. In that, my license plates are glued onto my vehicle. Personally, I had a 2003 G35 Infiniti abated for not having both license plates on it. Now this car had a Bose, audio system, and it had, alloy wheels, and it looked great. Leather seats, and it had heated leather seats. I love this car. And when it got abated for not having both of his license plates on it, and it got sent to the dismantler, I was devastated. I worked hard for that car. So some of these little things inside criminals find out about, they're using 311 as an opportunity to find cars that are quote unquote abandoned.
Paul, followed by Catherine.
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. The data is skewed, and here's why. We have a digital divide in our city that we've already acknowledged publicly. And so because of that digital divide, the sets of data that you're using is very skewed. When you break it down by zip code, you're going to see that the most of the people that are calling are in the red line districts. This is where the majority of calls are coming because they're more tech savvy, they have more access, and they don't have these spots where there's a failure of the infrastructure that this city has failed to build in certain parts of the city. That's number one. Number two, the advertising for this service, how many languages is there? Do you have language interpretation on the site when you call? I mean, this data is skewed, it's flawed. And what you're doing is you're basing policy based on false data.
Catherine, followed by Brian Darby.
Yeah, I agree that the reports are definitely skewed to certain parts of town. And I'm guessing a lot of people feel like they have the right to keep their vehicles on the street, whether it's a boat trailer or their third car or the car that's too nice to drive to the office or whatever. Too many people in the city think that the public streets are their property to store their other property on, and that's just not so. However, I would give grace to people who don't have anywhere else to go. If we don't have sanctioned encampments and sanctioned RV parking, car parking for unhoused people, again, we're just sweeping people have nowhere else to go, and that's not fair to them when they're just trying to survive.
Brian?
Thank you, and I'm glad you're referring to customer service or constituent service. One other thing that might be really good is if people respond to emails. That's always helpful too, and phone calls, leave a message and, maybe out of 10 phone calls, well, more than that, you might get one call back maybe. And I know you can't answer every email, and I'm not saying that. It's just that if you really want to set the customer service, even if you have an auto thing, we got your email, you got a number. I don't get that all the time. I don't write emails anymore. I used to, because it just seems to be less than futile. It's not even futile, it's less than that. I know I'm wrong about that, but that's the feeling a lot of us get, and that's how you get a lot of frustration. And I don't know how to abate that, not to use a pun. Thank you.
Thunder?
I'm here. So I just walked into my house from a bladed vehicle that I've reported repeatedly and had asked the mayor before can we have a feedback way? It's hard to measure customer service when calls are just closed without a satisfactory answer. I've had graffiti calls closed without an answer. I've reported a vehicle that's parked in the intersection at King and Lundy right now that finally got tagged today with a courtesy warning after a week of being in the intersection. We need to do more with bladed vehicles and make sure that there is a two-way dialogue. A vehicle was driven into the woods by Penitentiary Creek. I reported to the police the day it showed up there. Weeks later, it's still there, stripped, graffitied up, and smashed half to pieces. Thank you.
Back to the council.
Great, thank you. All right, let's start with Councilor Cohen.
Got all messed up here. All right. Thank you. It's been a long day, so I guess I'm finally pushing that button. Thank you so much for the presentation. This is an area of tremendous frustration for the residents of our district and for us as council members. Those of us who have been here a while have been trying to think about ways around this, and I really appreciate, we saw this at T&E and we're seeing it again today, but I really appreciate the depth and thought that went into this and trying to figure out ways to take action. So I think it's the first time we're finally seeing some real proposals that will make a difference and move the needle on satisfaction of the people in our district. So I want to thank you for that. there's a memo that has a lot in it, so I'm just going to quickly go through it just to make sure everybody's clear with everything in it, and then make a motion and ask a couple of questions. But there's several categories in this memo. Most of them are things that were already proposed by staff in the presentation. They weren't necessarily brand new ideas, but sort of allows us to sort of show our support for the things that staff is bringing forward as proposal. One is the idea of thinking about an ordinance related to the unpowered vehicles that are often on the street that are taking away parking spaces, and often things that neighbors feel are blight in their neighborhood, boats, unoccupied trailers, and other types of accessories. So I appreciate that you'll be coming back with suggestion in the future on that one. And then some of these have to do with enforcing the 72-hour parking limit. As we know, that had been unenforced for a while. And so we're talking about a phased approach to beginning to enforce that through marking vehicles, citing vehicles, and eventually towing vehicles if they're non-compliant. And then in D, we talk about being more responsive to some, by reallocating resources, being able to respond to 10,000 complaint-based vehicles that are the complaints are just related to how long they're parked and not due to all the other things that have been prioritizing vehicles in the past. Just for clarification, I think that I heard a comment about how we would prioritize which vehicles to go to check on first based on the number of complaints that vehicle receives. Is that the preferred approach?
Currently, we're not prioritizing based on the number of complaints, but the plan is to include this part of our model. So that's one of the things, one of the enhancements we're looking to implement, hopefully by the end of this year.
Okay, and then that item in the memo mentions continuing focused proactive enforcement. So diverting some resources into the enforcement, the investigations of up to 10,000 or maybe more, we hope more, vehicles that have been complained through the system, but also still having some resources out there to do proactive enforcement in focused areas. I think that there's been an approach in the past to try to go into the areas where fewer complaints come in order to make sure that people aren't maybe using the 311 system as much or don't feel as comfortable reporting are getting enforcement in their neighborhoods. Is that still the plan as you move forward? To focus
That's correct,
that way?
Council.
Okay, thank you. Anecdotally, we had heard in conversations that some people actually want their vehicles towed, and they use this. They might want to use the ordinance as a way to get their unwanted vehicles removed. So our C in here is considering a way to potentially allow that to happen, potentially facilitate that, so that maybe unwanted vehicles are removed off the streets and don't remain there. So potentially integrating into the app, finding out a way to have owners mark their vehicles. Maybe partnering with a nonprofit that we know collects, takes vehicles from people and helping facilitate that connection between residents and that nonprofit. And then the item about what kind of legislative and ordinance changes would we need to address the severe health, safety, environmental impacts in cases where vehicles are causing more of a problem than just being visually unpleasing to a resident. The second is about the 311 app. We did hear one person talk about this. I think there's been a problem in the past with residents feeling like their complaints are closed without a good, courteous response and the opportunity to appeal. So that's suggested in here. And then the last thing is about street sweeping, which has been another concern of residents. How do we somehow get more enforcement of street sweeping parking rules so that we don't end up skipping entire areas over and over again and never getting those streets swept. So there's a few suggestions in here of things we might do, just starting with marketing and communication to residents so they even know when their street sweeping day is. I know that I often just forget because I'm not reminded, and I think periodic reminders is important, and then maybe finding ways to enforce and even collect data as to how many streets are skipped. We know that some streets get skipped entirely because the street sweeping vehicles can't enter those streets and turn around because of the vehicles parked on the street. So getting that data would be helpful, and then report back to T&E. I want to just also comment, Councilmember Batra, I know, submitted a memo as well. I think his number 3 is similar to our item about allowing vehicles to be towed if people want them to. So I think that's already in the main motion of the main memo. Recommendation 1 in his memo talks about methods to report the number of vehicles that have been towed and impounded and later released so that we can really get more information about how many people are abandoning them truly or are recovering them. I assume that that's not a hard thing for us to do, to collect that data as we tow, if we tow.
Currently, we don't have a clean way to report or track it, and we're hoping the new towing contract will provide this ability to track and report back the effectiveness of the towing and how many reclaimed, as you mentioned, how many are actually abandoned, so we can measure the effectiveness of the program.
So it sounds like we can have that item in there to investigate methods by which we might track that data. Okay. I'm gonna make a motion to move our joint memo with Mayor, Vice Mayor Kamei, Councilmember Ortiz, Councilmember Davis, and myself, include item 1 from Councilmember Batra's memo. I'm gonna leave it up to him to talk about his item 2. I want to hear more from him on that item and maybe he'll ask questions about the feasibility of that one. But I'll move the rest.
Great. Second from Councilmember Torres. Thank you, Councilmember Cohen. Appreciate you walking through the group memo and asking some thoughtful questions, and excited again about the direction we're heading in here. Okay, I'm going to head over to Councilmember Batra.
Coming from the kind of background I come from, this project was of great interest to me to study in detail, and I appreciate that the group spent a lot of time going over in the details of that. I have to say that this is an example of the excellent piece of work done in every respect. It is not an IT project, it's not a DOT project. It was done in cooperation and togetherness of all the departments which needed to be involved in doing the work. You had the subject expert join you from the DOT to work on this project, which is ideal way to do any of these. And then you use the data mining techniques to really have this large amount of data to come up with the mining efforts which really have given us choices towards increasing customer satisfaction and also providing equity. And you made recommendations which are worth pursuing and are going to increase the customer satisfaction and are really going to be the solutions to the major problems customers have been facing, we have been facing. And so I commend you for all that effort, the approach you have taken, and the results you have come up with, and the teamwork. I hope the rest of the projects you do are done with the same kind of rigor, same kind of partnership, and you bring in the same kind of results, okay? So with that, I'm going to ask you a question about the one which Council Member David Cohen asked about my item number 1. The cars which are towed away, and you have about 3,000 to 3,600 a year, some of them claimed back. And my concern is the ones which are claimed back are probably from the people who can least afford getting those money back, paying the money to pick their car up, and inconveniencing them, probably not being able to go to their job. So I am very concerned about the cars which are towed away, and we need to find out from the past, if we can, what percentage of those get actually claimed back, because those people are not going to be able to live properly when the cars are gone, abandoned. So let's find a way so that the cars which are towed are genuinely to be towed, okay? So whatever effort you can put in there needs to be, because otherwise we'll be hurting the equity. My guess is those are going to be from the people who can least afford it, okay? Second aspect is about the cars which are considered abandoned and truly are abandoned. we should never have to tow those ones. I think when we go there, we should be able to put some signs on them that, hey, if this is a truly abandoned car, please call this junkyard to pick it up. In fact, you might get some money because the junkyards pay even $50 to $75 for any of those kind of things. So we should do every effort to make sure that the cars which are truly abandoned, those get picked up by the junkyard, not by us. And the ones which are not abandoned, they never get towed away. Okay. So that is the direction I would like to lean on it for protecting those people and also for that. And regarding our memos, I think our memos are very complimentary. And in fact, they're complementary to all the recommendations you have made. Every one of the recommendations which has been picked up by the memo, joint memo, it's all what is stated in there as your recommendations to be done. So I consider that's complementary to your work. And the memo which I wrote, other than this trying to separate between the abandoned car versus not abandoned car, is all complementary to exactly the work you are planning to do. So I would request Councilmember Cohen that you change your motion to accept both the memos, incorporate, because there's no inconsistency between your memo, the report, and my memo.
Yeah, I'm okay with accepting 1 and 3. I just want to ask about number 2. I mean, I guess it's just exploring, so I guess it's still okay to have it in there. So if you're nodding your head, then we can accept number 2 as well. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't something that was out of bounds or too difficult.
Yeah, the key verb on that one is explore. We are going to check on the privacy part of this one and what kind of tools and options are out there, but also with that explore language, we're good with it.
Okay, then I'll accept the friendly amendment to accept item 2. And like I said, I think 3 is already incorporated, but we can take it just to make sure.
Okay, is that okay with the seconder, Councilor Torres?
Yeah.
Okay, so friendly amendment's accepted. Councilor Batra, did you have more, or was that the end of your
No,
comments?
I just wanted to commend the work which is done, and I got in detail because it happens to match with my background of the way that I've done the work. So I really appreciate it. Great work. Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Baldry, if I can say, thank you so much for your compliment. It's been truly a pleasure working with and collaborating with the 7 departments. It's really impressive how everybody came together to come up with a very intuitive, data-driven decisions. And I agree with you. We have initiated the Innovation Lab in IT, and we're using that as a foundation to establish this as a process versus a one project time. As far as the towing and abandoned vehicles, you're head on this issue. We want to distinguish our performance and effectiveness when we tow because we think it's abandoned versus we tow for enforcement. And this is one of the measures we want to take to make sure that we're not towing blindly, we know exactly what we're doing, and then we can change the program to make sure we achieve a higher achievement as far as our understanding, prediction, and interpretation of the status of the vehicle to know whether this is enforcement versus abandonment. But thank you again for the support and for encouragement.
Great. Thank you, Khaled. All right, Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to begin my comments by just thanking staff for the very thorough report and the hard work and the effort you put into this. And I also want to thank my Brown Act for coming together to address a major quality of life issue for the city of San Jose and especially for the residents of District 5 at really any given neighborhood meeting or community event. We're approached regarding the abandoned vehicles that have just plagued a lot of the neighborhoods in District 5. And of course, they're not the major issue of the route is there's no parking due to the cost of living, and we have multiple families living in one home and garages. But that coupled with abandoned cars that are along our streets is just becoming unbearable for our residents. And I know that we made the decision not to tow during COVID, so I know a lot of our residents are going to be excited to hear that we're going to be activating the 72-hour rule These cars, they're obstructing, sight when people are, making turns. They park on red curbs, or they're abandoned essentially on red curbs, and they take up space where working families who are getting off at work, their second job at 9 o'clock, have to park 3 or 4 blocks away from their house just to get home. And I know that our traffic enforcement division has been doing a lot of work in order to address this. I know obviously they could use more staff, but they're also leading with a lens of equity. But I also feel as a council we should be empowering them and providing them the support that they need as well. In short, just to complement Councilmember Cohen's talking points, I believe at the root of this memo is language to empower our parking compliance staff with the necessary tools to fulfill the ordinances of the city. I constantly, people are saying, oh, we have ordinances here at the city of San Jose, but we're not following them. We look in our neighborhoods, how come we're not following the 72-hour rule, et cetera? So I think that by implementing this memo, we're going to be moving in the right direction. We're going to be providing relief, I think, mostly to our working class families where neighborhoods are extremely condensed and where, to be honest, enforcement is truly necessary. If you're here in the city of San Jose and you have multiple cars that are on the street and you're not driving those cars within 3 days, like, you need to have a personal conversation with yourself. So I think this memo signals to our community that we're paying attention to them, to their needs, and we're taking action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate those comments. Councilmember Dwan?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for the presentation, and that's a collaboration with 7 different departments. That's pretty amazing. I know that the department will do their due diligence to notify the offender, either abandoned vehicles or parking at 72 hours without moving, by red tagging it prior to towing. Am I correct on that? Thank you. And my other question to you is, I know that specifically in D7, there are many vehicles that have been parked and live in for 2 years, not only having bio-waste, but hazardous waste and many other problems of hoarding and so on. Is there anything we can do, at least to reduce the amount of RVs or vehicle that park on the street with obviously unhoused resident living in it?
Councilmember Dwan, this is Andrea Flores-Shelton with PRNS. So we will be coming back to you all after we do some more multi-department coordination and have the administration sort of vet recommendations that kind of reflect the encampment management approach, where we would look at risk factor checklist, put lived-in vehicles in some sort of bio-waste service as well as a trash service, but also start identifying and escalating whether there is a need for those that are not cooperative with our programs and services, that are creating sort of ongoing quality of life issues. And I know for each council member, we have a case, we have a story where we do think the 72-hour enforcement rule may need to be used. So we're still vetting that, and we will bring that back to you, hopefully short of a few months, but it may take a couple more months, but we'll be back.
Well, thank you. I'll look forward to that report. A lot of businesses are literally leaving District 7 due to unhoused residents is taking up space and causing a lot of multi-environmental effect to their businesses. And so I hope that we'll come with some type of solution, not only for the unhoused residents, but also for the businesses as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Torres?
Good evening, and thank you so much for that presentation. It's good to see an old program of SNI come back to life, the Blight Busters program. I know Andrea knows what I'm talking about. 7 departments. Clearly remember, as a neighborhood activist, but also as a city employee, with the Strong Neighbors Initiative program that we operated in silos when it came to abandoned vehicles. And so glad that we are now not operating in silos and being more proactive. I am generally supportive of, I'm supporting the memo, I'm supporting my colleagues. I know they worked hard on their memos. I'm particularly concerned with the illegal parking that is happening and how we don't get to it fast enough. I know there was talk of community service officers issuing citations. Not sure where that went. Did that ever come into fruition or not?
No, I do not believe. I think that was subject to meet and confer related to their, duties per their classification schedule. So I don't think that has come into fruition, and I'm not sure if we've actually done any meet and confer on that.
No, we have not.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I do know that we have an excellent parking compliance unit, but again, the concern is the illegal parking. There's even a Instagram page that calls out illegal parking in downtown and other neighborhoods in the city of San Jose, and it's created by obviously our cycling community, right? So, but it is concerning that we are not a little bit more proactive when it comes to the illegal parking, because it does affect our pedestrians and it does affect our cycling community, or folks going to work or going to coming here to San Jose State. So I know Jennifer just answered the question, but I do hope that we can have that discussion again, where our community service officers are able to help our parking compliance unit when it comes to illegal parking, illegally parked cars, or folks parking illegally in our city. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember. I think it's a good point. I appreciate you raising it. Okay, I don't see any other hands. Thank you again to staff for a great presentation. More importantly, all the work you're doing day to day to move this issue forward. I really, like I said, first time, I think Councilmember Cohen said the same thing, first time I've felt some hope that we're going to make really significant progress in at least the 3 years I've been paying close attention to it. So really, really excited about the direction we're heading in. We have a motion and a second. Let's vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thanks everybody. We are on to item 6.1, long-term renewable energy agreement with Pacific Gas and Electric. And I understand Councilmember Batra will recuse himself from this item.
Yes.
Okay.
Due to my ownership of PG&E stock, I recuse myself from item 6.1, and I'll enjoy the refreshments on the back.
There we go. Okay. We'll see you shortly. Okay. We do not have a staff presentation. We can go to public comment first.
Blair?
All right, thank you. Strangely, at my consent calendar time, there's a weird issue that happened, so I couldn't talk what I wanted to talk about then. I can talk about it now, kind of. This is an item, a lease energy agreement with Pacific Gas and Electric, that I just wanted to remind yourselves that, we've been talking a lot about community energy these days. You've offered your plans for the next 5 years. I think it's a bit of a step backwards, and that I think we have to be, as a council board, you need to offer the community a bit more direction. What really is the future of community energy, and really how to talk about it as a process of the community, and that community can be a part of its decision-making process. In working with these PG&E items, that is also a part of it. How are we going to learn to distance ourselves from PG&E? That is a really important goal, and I'm a bit cliche and hackneyed in how to mention these things, but they're important. Thank you.
Brian?
Thank you. Yeah, the renewable energy is good. PG&E and anything to do with the California Public Utilities Commission, watch your P's and Q's. There's, all you have to do is go back and read what was it, 87 manslaughter in the second degree, criminal charges against the organization. That, I don't know, if that was any of us, we wouldn't be at the council meeting today. And I know it's different than that, but, and maybe it's just the public perception of PG&E or the California CPUC, but there's a disdain that I feel, especially talking at CPUC, is just, they despise ratepayers with a passion. And that's probably a little overexcited, but thank you.
Paul? And it's Paul followed by Catherine. Okay, I'm going to move to Catherine.
Good evening. I'm not representing any of my groups right now. I'm just hoping that we can find a way to have our own independent utility like Santa Clara does. I hear all the time from my friends in Santa Clara boasting about how reliable their energy is. Their electricity is, how much better the customer service is, how they're not setting the mountains on fire, how they are committed to clean energy. And I wish San Jose could do that too, because PG&E is just a horrible company, and we keep having blackouts, and it's just so hard on people who depend on electricity for their medical equipment or for taking care of their kids or their businesses, to keep having all of these power outages from PG&E. And it's hot this week. We're moving in the PSPS time of the year. So thank you very much.
Back to council.
Great, thank you.
Move for approval.
Thank you, Councilmember. Do we have a second?
Second.
Heard Councilmember Jimenez. I do see a hand. Councilmember Cohen?
Yeah, I'll just be quick. I appreciate the efforts of our clean energy department to try to deal with our PCIA and reduce the costs to our ratepayers. I always want to feel the need to make a comment about how the ultimate goal should be that we're not, as a state, eventually decommissioning all of these natural gas-fired plants and not having to use them as part of our portfolio. But I know we're kind of stuck based on previous contracts PG&E's made. So hopefully we will be moving in a point in which 5 or 6 years from now, there'll be more and more clean energy generated, and we won't be having to rely on these kinds of dirty energy sources. Just wanted to make that comment, and I'm happy to support the motion.
Thanks, Councilmember. Okay, let's vote on Councilmember Ortiz's motion.
Motion passes unanimously with Davis absent and Batra recused.
Thank you, Tony. Batra Harris, he's welcome to come back. Let's go on to item 6.2, Public Services Commercial Solid Waste Customer Service Rates. No staff presentation, so we will go to public comment first.
Blair?
Hi, Blair Beekman. I'll try to be quick on this one. This actually is, thank you for, at least in the last item, it was renewable energy ideas. But for this item, you're talking about solid waste customer service rates. The sewer issues and the federal funding dollars you're getting for that and stormwater issues, it's been pretty remarkable of late. And I guess this item is kind of a byproduct, of that possibly. And so I just thank you that you're working on the issues, but just a reminder that we really have to be careful about the law enforcement process that's going on with these new federal funding dollars for sewer and wastewater things. good luck how we can talk about that openly. Thank you.
Paul?
Yes, the Paul Soto from the Horseshoe, the electrical rates are going to be skyrocketing because the homeowners are going to have to reinstall to remove all the gas powered stoves and things like that that are in the houses and replace it with electricity. That necessarily means that the rates are going to go up. We've discussed this before. We keep going through these same discussions. Remember, I'm inside every one of your meetings, man. You know, I read you guys' memos. So I know what the future is going to look like. And you're not preparing for it right now. You're acting very irresponsibly and not in the best interest of the public. Because 4 or 5 years from now, when all of you are gone, you're going to set the future with that bill, with that tab, man. Start taking some responsibility for it now and being honest about it and quit lying to the people, man. Because that's what you guys do, lie all the time.
Back to council.
Thank you.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay. Councilmember Duan?
I'll cancel that.
Okay. Seeing no further hands, let's vote.
That was my fault. Motion passes unanimously with Davis absent.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Okay, we are on to open forum.
Blair?
What's
And
that?
this is, I was just calling Blair. And this is for items not on the agenda.
Exactly. Any items involving city business not on the agenda?
All right, well, thank you. I think I should really report here that that I spoke at consent calendar today, and someone spoke during the meeting today. As we were speaking, somebody's face went onto the screen and started speaking. And I wanted to bring that to your attention as an issue you'll have to address. Either that was someone hacking their way into it or someone from city government hacking their way into the system here. It should be noted, my public comment got cut off. And I hope we can work on it. I think Craig Judson could have some good, safe answers to work this out for ourselves. Good luck how we can work on it. I also wanted to, a quick thank you to the work in San Diego right now that they're really trying to address their tow issues in terms of equity. They're talking about that publicly. That's their public conversation. Good luck how we can add that to the future of our dialogue here. And just, it's nice to be here today. Nice to see everyone around, and thanks for the meeting today.
Thomas?
Mayor Mahan, City Council members, tonight I address you with a profound disappointment and anger regarding the mishandling of the Coyote Creek encampment suite. We were assured that our neighbors would have from May 15th through June 5th to relocate. Regrettably, this assurance was nothing more than a lie. On multiple occasions, I advocated as a member of the Lived Experience Advisory Board of Silicon Valley for the creation of a work group to explore viable solutions for these individuals. Disappointingly, this call to action went unanswered. The city's lack of adequate preparation and clear communication is more than just disappointing. It is a potential threat to life. Due to these missteps, lives are now at risk. If any member of our community, heaven forbid, loses their life because of this, the responsibility will sit squarely on the shoulders of the city of San Jose. This can and should do better. We owe it to our community. Thank you.
Brian, followed by Paul.
Thank you. Just going to go back to, these are very complicated issues, and 1 minute in any kind of general discussion is hard to discuss, even 2 minutes. It would be advantageous that, where there's this big list of things that we have to do, or we're going to get kicked out of the meeting or arrested. If there was a other side of that, things that the council will do, like maybe they read our emails, maybe they pay attention to our phone calls, maybe they just some kind of acknowledgement that there's a two-way communication. We've heard on several occasions today about the breakdown in communication, and that is a very constant theme in San Jose. My comment won't make any difference in that, but I hope if enough people comment, maybe it will. It's really hard when it's all going one way. It really is. Thank you.
Paul, followed by Catherine.
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. What I find very, very interesting about city government is that some of the recent ideas, that was someone's best idea. That was somebody's best idea. That's the scary part, is to think that somebody is sitting there and they're conceiving of this idea and they're like, yeah, and they're getting support from it from certain people that aren't even in these meetings. They're sitting back, they're developers, they're just laughing and just mocking the city. Look at all the lower classes just fighting over each other while they're sitting back compromising the integrity of these meetings because they're paying people to do it. What I'd like to see, and I really, really hope this happens, Vice Mayor Rosemary Kamei for Mayor 2024. That's what I want to see happen. Thank you.
Catherine.
Hi, I would like to second what Blair was saying about us somehow getting Zoom bombed. Earlier, I actually caught the name of someone who just randomly appeared on the screen, and his screen name was Josh Anzel. And I Googled and there is a lawyer by that name who works on housing bonds. So he might have been interested in our discussions today. But why are they getting put up on the screen with their audio talking over the person who has the floor? And sometimes, people can't even get the rest of their time back after this Zoom bomber interrupts. Why is this happening? Why aren't you trying to stop it?
Hi, Catherine. And since Blair brought it up, I'm going to address it. That actually was a person on the panelist side. When a panelist unmutes, even if it's accidentally, it'll pop their picture up on the screen. As soon as they started talking, my staff and I we're trying to mute them as fast as we can. Sometimes it's hard to find their name. It was not a hacker. It was just a person on the panelist side who accidentally unmuted at the wrong time. Back to council.
Thanks, Tony. All right, everybody. Have a great night. We're adjourned.